ladies, gentlemen, and everything in between.
It's a spectrum.
And it's a spectrum, yes. Welcome to yet another retarded episode of Radio Rothingham, the least professional podcast on the entire internet. Not just the partial internet, but the entire internet. Today, we have yours truly, the Artrix. We got the one and only Bakphoon muted himself, so I'll just imitate his voice. Hello, I'm Herr Bakphoon. We also got a Panboy, who is Panboy.
I exist.
We got Sekele.
Hi diddly ho, neighborino.
And we got our token American Tridgeon. Howdy, partner.
Oh god, it's happening. Again.
It's getting PTSD from, all the American stereotypes that I'm throwing at you.
How else am I gonna get paid government salary after I lose function of my entire body from this?
Mm-hmm. And we got our token Czech person from Czechia, and he hates when I say that, Xaverius.
I was here the last time.
And you're here again. It's never ending hell that you're part
I
of.
just finished my drink.
Good job. But you do not win a prize. I'm sorry.
The prize would be another drink.
Yeah, but now you're out of a drink, and we don't have the budget to get you another one. I'm sorry. I'm terribly sorry, Xaverius. There's no drink for you. Ever again.
We have topics. Is alcoholism the first one?
Sure. So what about it?
I don't actually want to talk about it. That sounds depressing.
I'm totally not drinking Guinness right now. I totally don't need this to survive.
I've got tequila.
I'm actually not drinking any alcohol right now. I didn't really feel to, but that's just the sound of my freedom.
You
I can't
didn't
hear.
feel.
Yes, I was like, I don't feel like drinking today. It's a free country where people are free, or at least in theory. I don't know about reality. Reality is probably close to like some sort of 1984 type dictatorship, masquerading as a democracy. I don't know.
Well, you live in socialist Europe, right? According to American standards, you are living in communist hell.
Well, we've got a token American. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how much can you not hear us over your freedom?
What?
Exactly.
Well,
here over in Europe, you guys only make beer out of like barley and water. You can't even put things like flavorings in them or.
But that would ruin them.
You usually make them out of corn, so
Everything is corn.
All of
you people don't even have real sugar.
Yeah.
This is
just corn syrup.
That's why a thing like Pepsi Throwback exists, and then we come over to Europe and we're like, what the fuck is that?
It sounds like something you drink and then you throw it back up.
Well, that is Pepsi.
Well, this Pepsi.
The best is the White Lightning Mellow Yellow. No, Mountain Dew.
White Lightning.
Yeah,
That's
they made a White Lightning line.
That's something from the deep south, isn't it?
Well,
Okay.
it's of course parodying moonshine, but it's Mountain Dew that is made with cane sugar and with no food colorings.
That sounds.
So it's actually a clear liquid.
Yeah, but isn't that
actual sugar? My God.
It's actual sugar.
Also,
it tastes much better.
Isn't the whole reason why Mountain Dew is sold in green bottles? Isn't the whole reason that Mountain Dew actually just kind of looks like piss, and that's the reason they
tastes like piss.
Well, it was originally marketed as a whiskey mixer when really, really sweet citrus mixers were popular with whiskey.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's bright yellow coloring probably so that it would look good with the whiskey. The amber, you're not just diluting the whiskey, you're actually probably making it have like a richer, more amber color.
Yeah.
When
then
you're drinking it, great.
Then it fell down the containment barrel and it started glowing in the dark. And now
People
what?
realized that mixing extremely sugary citrusy drinks with their whiskey was actually awful,
Huh.
and they just started drinking
Yeah.
it straight.
Were they never teenagers? All my classmates mixed anything with anything as long as it had different colors.
Damn these rebels, damn to heck.
Yeah, people mostly just mix whiskey with Coke here.
Oh, yeah. But you are
Yeah,
Ireland.
whiskey and Coke works.
Not Pepsi though. Why would you ever mix anything with Pepsi? You'll
It's
just
too
die.
sweet.
Why would you Pepsi at all?
Exactly. The
I did
worst
not
possible.
Pepsi that coming.
Generally, mixing caffeine with alcohol is a very bad idea.
Oh, that reminds me. There was this drink in the United States that had like a copious amount of sugar and, well, it was basically like
So any
20.
drink?
Yeah, it was basically like 20 cups of coffee, but it also had copious amounts of alcohol in it. So you got the most hilarious result. But then they banned it.
Yes.
We just call that a Jaeger bomb.
And it kills you. It really kills you.
Yeah, Artrix, I don't think dying is hilarious.
Well, Russians apparently do.
Ah.
Have you heard of the Blue Whale Challenge?
Now, what about
Oh.
it?
Have you heard about the drug named Crocodile?
Oh, that explains all these Spurdo comics with the Slavic people drinking all the energy drinks. Because apparently...
While wearing
Hey.
track.
Are you cocking your guns right now?
Oh, I'm figuring out what gun I'm going to be fondling during this podcast. I think it's going to be my my Soviet PU sniper
Hey,
rifle.
Hey, Tridge, hey.
What?
That's not
Guys-
very American. You're
Guns
using
have
it.
rights too. Come on.
It's American when I bought and paid for it.
You just fondle it.
You just
You have to
American.
ask for permission.
Is that Soviet rifle made out of genuine American steel?
It is not. Absolutely is not.
What
This
happened
thing-
to your, what
it's-
happened to your patriotism?
Yeah.
So is it made
So-
of actual steel?
So when you take a communist rifle and then you import it via a German importer into America and then sell it via the public at a public show with absolute no paperwork involved, then it becomes American.
So you know the
I-
steel.
then you just look at the receiver and there's a place where it was very thoroughly scratched because there used to be a number there, right?
No, the original numbers are there. The import marks are all still there. It also still has a hammer and sickle. 1944. This thing could have been drugged through Stalingrad.
Man, that's awesome.
Mhm.
Also, I now dub your rifle the Keystone.
Oh, yes, or simply the pipeline.
Perfect.
Yes.
But yeah, it is hilarious that you know you have a Soviet rifle. That's just. Was it actually manufactured during the Soviet era, or is it just an AK-47?
No. This is a Mosin Nagant. This is a 1947 sniper rifle from World War II.
Wow.
Oh,
I love using that rifle in video games. It shoots people in the head pretty good.
it has history.
Well, the AK-47 in general is a very versatile weapon.
Why are you talking about AKs? That's
is
not
a-
the only Soviet gun in existence, you know.
Artrix, this is a very different gun.
Wait, wasn't he talking about an AK?
Well, he said
Oh, he
Mosin
was-
Nagant. Maybe Mosin Nagant
So,
sounds like AK-47 to you, but that's a slightly
So-
different number of syllables in there.
Okay.
So the 47 on AK-47 is because it was designed in 1947. This
Yes.
rifle was made in 1944.
Cool.
It's a
So-
Mosin Nagant.
In simple terms, it's not an AK-47, Artrix.
Yes. Anyway, I did not mean to derail that. I just picked up a gun and it made a noise on the cast.
Well, that's fine. It does make for nice conversation material. But you should probably move on to a topic.
And pick up them, more gently.
Yes.
Well, there is that slight topic of Trump saying he would build the Keystone Pipeline out of American steel, and then now they're all like, Well, actually, we kind of already bought most of the steel.
Surprise! It's Russian steel.
Yeah, so,
Well,
Our bad.
so yeah, it
at
would be
least-
kind of silly to go and insist on buying American steel. When
But
you
also
already got
raises
steel.
questions on did he know this all along? Was this already in the planning? Were these in the works?
He
There's a
didn't
pretty
know it.
I don't know. I mean, there's a pretty significant investigation into exactly how deep are his ties with Russia right now, with several possible endings to that. I would not be that surprised if we actually see some sort of like judicial consequences from how all this has been handled.
He'll just have to pay a fine.
I mean, maybe. I mean, one positive solution to this would be maybe forcing him to separate his business from being the president.
Did,
He wanted to do it anyway.
did he already do that? Didn't he already do that?
No.
Well,
Not in the same way that other presidents have. For example, like Reagan. No, it was who's the guy? Jimmy Carter. He's the guy that owned the peanut farm. And then he was forced. He wasn't forced to do anything. He voluntarily, because of tradition, handed his business over to
Business.
Oh God, what's the term? He used. It's like a unrelated third party. There's a way apparently you can hand stuff over so that you have a contract to like, oh, you're going to get this back when you're not president anymore, but in the meantime you have no control over it. And so
A holding company?
Yeah, a holding company. Reagan had to do the same thing. I think Bush Sr. did as well.
I think I remember hearing that Trump basically, at least distanced himself from his businesses because he was going to be president, or he's going to be like, well,
he handed all his businesses over not to a holding company, but to family members.
Okay, so that's
Well, they do that here in Slovakia. Over here, that is normal. And he did marry a Czech woman, so...
Dun,
probably
dun, dun.
Maybe he's just picking up the Czech traditions.
He's just
Czech and Slovak.
he's just being multicultural. Come on.
The plot burp thickens.
Or as Frau Merkel says, multiculti.
Right, so
Left.
left, right, center. Speaking of left, I know, right?
He won't divide us.
Yeah, he won't divide us because Shia LaBeouf is still at it. He thought, he was too deep 6U, so he made like the webcam thing, and that didn't really turn out to be all that great. So now it's like, well, if
because for some strange reason, people with varying color of skin and background started coming to the camera and talking.
I know, right? It's almost as if people have free speech in America. It's crazy, right? So yeah, Shia LaBeouf was like, that was probably not the best idea. So you know what, I'm going to go and put a flagpole somewhere with it. He will not define his flag, and no one's going to find out where it is. It's just gonna know. It's just gonna be there. It's gonna be awesome, and no one's going to interfere with it whatsoever, and it's gonna be peachy. But then
Peach.
Yeah, peach. Until some artist on the Fortunes actually triangulated the position by using the contrails in the background.
Brilliant.
They literally compared flight paths of airplanes and the night sky to triangulate the location of the flag. It was perfect.
That's fucking hilarious.
Reminder that the CIA still can't find terrorists, well-known terrorists, but 4chan can find some random flag in the middle of nowhere.
Also, there was that one time that 4chan tipped the CIA on the position of a terrorist based on their training video.
And then it promptly got blown up.
Yes.
I do love that. No, the base, the people, some guys reported on. 4chan are
And
like,
then the hacker that known as 4chan was no more exposed to be the terrorist that we all knew he was all along.
I do love the fact though that this actually does demonstrate something we've all been all suspected very long time. The CIA and the FBI all do indeed lurk 4chan.
I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of them are members. I mean, think about what is the age of a someone who's established in the cybersecurity business. I mean, they're probably going to be in their mid-30s in order to have had enough time to, I mean, like late 20s to mid-30s is what I would guess. Which happens to also be people that were lurking 4chan during its heyday.
Mm-hmm.
You know, people that were anonymous random internet users, trolls on the web board that got into, you know, cybersecurity because of hacking random people or doing whatever Anon did at the time. Now might actually have a serious business in it. So why wouldn't they go back?
True.
Oh,
true,
are you saying that Brianna Wu is right when she said that the FBI is working with Gamergate?
Wait, she actually did say
Obviously.
that?
Yeah, after basically the FBI said that there is no proof that Gamergate was involved in any harassment, and when the FBI released that Brianna Wu was actively sabotaging their investigation, then Brianna Wu basically went online and started claiming that the FBI is working with Gamergate.
That's too rich. I'm sorry.
Makes perfect sense. What are you talking about?
Yeah, actually, Mundane Map did a whole video on a rundown of the FBI's report on Gamergate because he did a Data Protection Act request from it, and they gave it to him, and he read out everything that wasn't censored. You know how those public documents are full of redacted crap.
Hmm.
Oh yeah.
No.
A lot of the redacted stuff is interesting because they redact anything that they feel is information that can be used to estimate the size of the data centers that they use to collect the information. So like even like what might seem to be really innocuous or mundane information will get redacted if it like has any way of letting you know how much electricity they are using, or how much water they're using, or how much, you know, any of the resources.
Well, considering 4chan can identify the location of a flag,
Based on contrails.
they're probably not wrong.
It's the same way governments try to lull the general public by saying, you know, data. We're just collecting metadata. It's just metadata. It's harmless. You can trust us. It's only metadata. It
And
cannot.
then your brain splatter across the wall as a sniper rifle fires into it.
PSA, public service announcement for anyone who doesn't realize that metadata can be assembled into very concrete specific data to point directly at your mailbox.
Exactly. So that's why any politician who says something like that can fuck off.
And we have all these laws. Well, I don't know about USA, but we have all these laws that are supposed to prevent it. And all it means is that you just have to do several more tasks to circumvent it.
It hasn't really been pushed to a national court here, but there are local places that are supportive of protecting private data. Obviously, no one has pushed it into a larger issue yet, probably because everyone feels like they could possibly lose.
Under Irish law, the Irish Data Protection Act, any data that it can be identified as belongs to you, and thus you can demand any service that stores it to delete it. And no one's ever pushed this though, and I'm sure that people would just scream metadata all day.
Well, these are my metadatas.
Yeah.
And then some database administrator could quite easily point out how easy it is to assemble metadata into concrete data.
Yes.
like even your browsing habits could identify you, and especially if they ever actually tracked what kind of stuff you order on the internet.
Yes. But after all, that's how you get all those fancy targeted ads.
Yeah, or
Exactly.
like my bank knowing what transactions to flag and being like, this isn't like your normal buying habits. Did your card get stolen?
You are using
No.
Bing for something else than porn.
Yeah, that's a
What?
funny thing about American banks, especially credit card companies. You know, you go on vacation and the moment you buy a €2 candy somewhere, they're like, ring
Oh
ring,
shit!
sup? Are you sure you're on vacation? Where are you? I'm on
Mexicans
vacation.
stole your card! Panic! It will
Yeah.
explode in 10 seconds!
You've been hacked, hacksaw.
just-
No, I'm on vacation. Oh.
I just went to Mexico for the first time a couple weeks ago, and the first thing I bought, I wasn't even over the border yet. I was just near the border, and I bought something and immediately got a phone call from my bank, and they were like, "Everything okay? Okay, great."
And
Yeah.
that's why I never use credit cards.
I think it's great, really.
I use
Yeah,
them when I
that-
need them on
that's-
PayPal,
that's not-
which doesn't fucking work because there's a new layer of protection.
I've used
That's
my
not-
card in
oh.
America, France, Germany, Amsterdam, and Rotterdam. The bank never called me. The other day, I did something I do constantly. I tried to order a Humble Bundle, and something went wrong with Stripe, and they tried to charge my card 3 times or something, and none of them went through. Then the bank cancelled my card.
Nice.
Well, that
I was like, the bank rang me up and said, okay, yeah, there was a security hold put on your card. I was like, why? It was like, looks like you made like 10 transaction attempts from this site and they were all canceled. I was like, oh, okay. And I was like, okay, but why? I was like, a Humble Bundle? Yes, I have bought like 20 months worth of shit from them.
Mhm.
It's what I do. I buy their shit. So why would that be a red flag?
and then
I
like,
mean, it sounds
oh,
to me
good
like
point.
the red flag isn't the source. It's probably the fact that you tried to charge the card multiple times after it failed the first time.
Mm.
Yes, it
Yeah,
sounds
that-
to me like they're not putting it into context because, you know, that would be using all those data right.
Well, you gotta be very stingy with your data, you know. They're limited resource. You gotta be careful.
I
You
think
should-
see, they
have failed in the first
they have-
place.
They have all this info on him, but thanks to all those laws, they obviously they can't use it. See, so they have
Yeah,
to treat
because they
each
only have
case
metadata.
as if it's a single occurrence that never happened before, and they have nothing to compare it to. No, that's how it works.
I
I
agree.
mean, meanwhile, I just can connect my card to PayPal because why not? It's been working fine before, but suddenly the card doesn't exist. Well, turns out they made a new type of protection, and they didn't turn it on by default for some reason. I don't understand why. Well, it works now, but it's too late. I had to select other payment on eBay, and instead of options, it was like, okay, the transaction is done, now pay. I'm like, I don't have the number of the account. I told the seller, and the seller answered by sending me their email address, which I had no success of getting a response from. It's beautiful.
Well, I am always kind of, you know, careful when it comes to PayPal because they can do random shit like that, and no one's gonna stop them because they're quote unquote not a bank. They're a service, you see. So they can just, which is why they can
They're-
just take your money.
They're essentially a credit card company.
Yes, obviously, I disconnect the credit card every time after I buy something, and the account.
Mhm.
But yeah, this time it didn't work to connect it. I mean,
Well, I only use it to transfer small amounts of money, so they.
in large, of course, in large.
I mean,
Oh.
sure, what I call small amount of money will probably buy you 6 houses in Czech Republic, but I digress. Okay,
Yes,
okay, I'm exaggerating. Maybe just one, but
Artrix is tunneling the EU funds.
Hmm?
I mean, you are right next to Belgium, so
yeah. You. Oh shit! You found me out. All this time, you know, I claim to be Eurosceptic and whatnot, but I am Europe.
I'm
actually- Yes.
You can just dig. You probably dug a tunnel from your parents' house basement straight to the national bank of EU. Yes,
Hmm?
EU is a nation now,
Yes.
and are taking money from there every weekend.
Exactly. You found me out. I'm actually super rich. I'm just keeping a really low profile up until now, of course, because now I've told basically the entire world.
Exactly.
Good thing
exactly.
that it's a good.
It's worldwide now. Our audience, all of them.
That's what I was
all
going
of
to
the-
say. It's a good
all of
thing
the-
that we got such a huge audience of 26 subscribers. So-
7.2 billion people are watching us right now.
Yep, everyone's watching us right now.
So many.
Also,
Yeah, look at-
back returned from his slumber. So,
What's a bug?
Someday, some of us will try to apply for a job, and they'll
Mhm.
find out we're on this podcast, and then they will just assassinate us.
I once
they
tried
won't-
applying for a job.
Well,
They-
it does.
Yeah, as of last week, I have a job.
Oh,
it
no.
does depend on who-
and did
What's up with all these people getting free jobs?
did the forum say? Did you ever participate in a podcast named Radio Rothingham? With
Yeah, they do,
with that exact phrasing.
No.
Oh, that's kind of disappointing. All the
And I thought it would actually help getting hired. They were like, oh, you were in Radio Rothingham.
well,
Yeah.
good.
Have this leading position.
Yes.
But yeah, I couldn't.
Become the CEO, whatever.
It
Yeah,
all
temporarily-
depends on who will be in charge in the future.
Anyway, you were saying, Tridge.
I was just saying that I temporarily didn't have a job because there was a hiring freeze under the executive branch, and they finally broke the freeze for temporary jobs within the group that I'm hired under,
Oh,
which
cool.
includes part-time rangers and firefighters. So
That's
essentially. Which I'm not one of those, but I'm in the same group. So essentially, I was able to keep my job, even though the Trump administration is scrutinizing, who they're hiring, what they're paying for, trying to do the whole go to smaller government thing because of public safety.
Yes, they are trying to make this small government thing by employing more people who check stuff. Wait.
Oh, I'm trying to employ less people. Fortunately, I'm hired underneath the umbrella of public safety, and so I still have a job.
Well, you are not a government.
You're Tridge.
I'm a part of it. I'm one small part of the large monstrosity that is the U.S. government.
Oh,
The
no.
US government.
Well, Tridgeon, you need to become a big part of a government so small you can barely see it.
You need to tear it down from the inside.
Oh man, what? Just become like the Ron Swanson of the Parks and Recs?
Exactly. Wait, are you not already?
No,
I thought you were in Park and
Unfortunately.
Rec.
Yeah.
no. I'm in the. I'm not in the Park Service. I'm in
You
the.
shaved.
I'm in the
Tridgeon?
National Park Service, not the city park.
But yeah, Tridge, you go ahead and tear down the US government, make it small again, and I'll do the same over here, okay?
Oh
Oh.
right.
Because
Wait, are you already done?
well,
You need.
we might be.
Well, that's the thing about Netherlands. See, Tridgeon, it's a very small country, but about 80% of it is the government.
Yes. So, and also it's one of the founding members of the EU that's actually paying into it. So if we're like, you know what, fuck you guys, then it's just gonna tumble like a card of the House of Cards.
Card of the houses. Sounds
Yes.
okay. You should vote for the guy with the hair and weird opinions.
Now, speaking of that, let's
Come on. I'm pretty sure he's harmless. He just wants to exterminate all Belgians or something like that.
No, but it is a nice segue into this little anecdote, because I was like, you know what, let's do something amusing for a change. So I was like, political rallies are usually highly amusing because of all the bullshit that's being flung around. So I was like, might be fun. So I decided to go to a rally for the party calls itself the Forum for Democracy. So I was like, well, might as well. So I went there, and
I like democracy.
I was actually very disappointed. And by disappointed, I mean not the party. I mean, it was actually, exactly what you expect to be. You go in there, you sit down for 2 hours, and they basically just tell you whatever the fuck they're gonna do. And
We are good.
and also, become a member. It's just 25 quid a year. And you also get my book. And I was like, fuck that shit. I don't care about your book.
Artrix, do you know how a guy who they voted, whose party did they vote, and into power? Do you know how he attracted people to vote him?
How?
He gave out a free boiled treat.
Wow.
Boiled treat.
That sounds like our elections.
Boiled
Yes.
in.
Well, that already sounds a lot better than this party, because it didn't even give me free cup of coffee.
Well, Sekele, to be fair, he is from Slovakia.
Was the boiled treat a donut?
Well, a donut is a thing that has a hole in the middle, and you can put
Yeah,
your
it's
dick in the
boiled.
hole.
Grease. Mm.
That's a fried treat. You don't boil
Donuts are
Yeah.
donuts are boiled in grease, aren't they?
Yeah,
That's
fried.
called frying. Anyway, I was gonna say I was disappointed, and it was not because of the party, because it was like almost exactly what I expected it to be, and I might or might not vote for them. I don't know, but when I went there, there was not a large number of students protesting, and I was like, damn. I wanted some protest, god damn it! I want to go there and fight myself through hordes and hordes of protesting, students protesting the
Artrix.
awful, horrible classical liberal ideology
like,
that was
Why
spounded
are
by...
you protesting? They have democracy in the name.
That's exactly why they would protest, because it's got democracy in the name. Don't you know that democracy is problematic these days?
And capitalism is bad.
And capitalism is bad, and all that good
Empire
jazz.
is scary.
I know, right? So I was really confused. I was expecting like a big fight and pleased to be there, and But
And
it's-
meanwhile, I and Sekele are like sitting here in Slavland and looking at the Western Europe, and we're like, "What are you doing?" We are
So you-
no, build a fence. We are not helping you. Go away.
Build a bigger fence, goddammit.
Indeed.
So-
We are going to build a new iron curtain, and this time we are going to do it to keep you out, not keep
Because
us
the
in.
last one worked so well.
And you're gonna make the Russians pay for it.
Make the Russians pay for it.
Well, Tridgeon, the last one worked pretty well, but then the Soviet Union was like, we don't have enough tanks to keep the people from trying to tear it down.
The
I think
difference-
Russia would be very happy with building an Iron Curtain, so long as they could build it in exactly the same place as the old one was.
I can tell you a secret, Tridgeon. They didn't have enough tanks because half of them got stolen.
What? Then they have like a fuck ton of tanks.
The moment the revolution started going off, and there were protests and riots and people got shot. Not in our country though.
Basically, the protesters started stealing tanks.
Exactly.
I'm
This
not-
sounds like
Okay,
the
okay, look
most
at those-
badass protest ever.
Look at those army guys.
The tank
They-
protest.
They did give you Molotovs. Made a short work of the protesting of the army guys. Hey, a free tank.
Yeah,
Yeah,
tanks
everyone.
are pretty fireproof, but the crew isn't.
Yeah, exactly. That happened in Latvia. That was the most bloody revolution that happened because at that point Russia was Russia was still like we should try to do something about this. And they were like, oh shit, they kicked our asses and stole our tanks.
Well, this is kind of awkward, I
Yeah.
guess.
This is how I recommend all protests go. Speaking of which, I heard that that there was another wave of anti-Trump protests near Berkeley last week, and this time, when the Antifa folks came up, the Trump supporters were all like, "Do you know what? We made shields and brought sticks." So the Trump supporters just beat off the Antifa people, and then there was semen everywhere.
What? Wait. How did the
And
semen
spawn-
go?
and it did spawn a brand new meme. Based Stickman, also known as the Right Knight.
But-
What is?
But yeah, Antifa. That's hilarious. That we've gotten to the point where people come prepared. Because sure, there's protest and then there's fucking Antifa.
And
Which
then
is like,
there's what South Korea does when they protest.
which
like-
is no.
Oh my god, it is a thing to behold.
Oh, South Korea actually, they just impeached their president.
Yeah. With largely non-violent protests, which is a shame because their violent protests, as I said, are a thing to behold. Whenever because they're like all military trained, so when South Koreans decide that it's time to like break out the violent protests, they don't just show up with sticks. They show up with full-on clubs and flaming Molotov cocktails and like organized
And
like,
IEDs.
military like. No, they don't go as far as like actually killing other people, but they definitely will throw like flaming Molotov cocktails into like the crowds of police that are against them.
That sounds like a thing that can kill you.
It could if they didn't get out of there. It's very effective. Is all I mean.
This
Like
actually,
you'll see like
It's
see like a whole like
crowd control, you'll say.
yes, it's anti-crowd control. Is how you get the police to get out of your way. Is you have like
Ah.
a battalion of people with beating sticks
Oh
that
my
then
God.
like on like a moment's notice all fold away and back off so that the whole like group of people with flaming Molotovs can step in. And
It's a crowd control.
yeah,
It
but that's not
patrols
what
the
happened
country.
with their.
When we had protests, they usually just took out those slightly armored cars that had water cannons, and then they gave all those poor protesting people a shower.
Those things are probably pretty effective, really. Though I gotta say, the new South Korean
They are.
president, they were very non-violent in their protests, and their president is now impeached.
Well, you see, it's a woman, so they couldn't use force against her.
It's still impressive that they were able to actually get like real political change done without violence.
Well, I
Well,
think
given that it's a democracy, I'm not
I
that
think
surprised.
this was sort of a exception from the rule, because it's not every day that you find out that your president is controlled by a shaman.
Yes, literally. It's pretty ridiculous.
Well, that's true, because the whole situation surrounding the South Korean president and whatnot was even linked to Gamergate, in the sense that something similar was going on and people just didn't take it anymore.
Obviously, everything is linked to Gamergate. Gamergate is like the new Illuminati.
Oh yeah, obviously.
Illuminati of Artrix
well,
check.
Gamergate is to the left, what the Illuminati are to the right.
So
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but
You got
the
it.
Illuminati literally was a basement club. I'm not even joking. It was like 6 guys who hung out in their basement for a few years, and they were called the Illuminati. That's what they called themselves. And then 100 years later, everyone's
The
so
guy
like,
that was ranting on the.
Oh my god, I'm so woke.
Well,
gosh.
now we have 6,000 people on the internet worshipping a frog, so everything's possible.
gods come and go. Praise Kek.
Are you talking about this this Pakistan?
Panboy, in Kek's case, it's a god that has returned. He didn't go anywhere. He's
Very
back.
true.
I agree. Anyway,
I mean,
Too.
does seem to have real powers.
Also,
He did-
I remembered one thing about the tanks that my dad once told me. After the revolutions went down and the Union collapsed and all the tanks that were not stolen went back to Russia or whatever, they fucked off away. That was the important part.
mhm.
Including the Russians. That was also an important
That's
part.
pretty important.
And then the tanks that have been stolen and were not discarded were repurposed. So in the years after the fall of the Soviet Union, you could take your plastic car from Eastern Germany and go on a trip, and then you end it in a ditch because roads were very in a very good shape. And then you found the nearest payphone and called yourself a service to get you out of there. And lo and behold, what came in was half a bulldozer and half a tank. It was just the bottom of a tank with the top from a bulldozer.
You know where the top of the tank went?
Well, I don't know. It probably wasn't very feasible to get cars out of ditches with cannon.
They probably repurposed the steel to make Kofola cans.
Yes, obviously.
With steel.
Well, all I know is I've seen a video from Syria where a Toyota Hilux is modified so that mounted to where the bed of the truck is supposed to be is the top of an old Soviet Russian tank.
I think I saw that.
Well, and anyway, you know how a tank moves, right? So they hook your car up to the back of the tank service, and tanks are not very gentle when it comes to starting. They sort of jump, so it jumps into the
rips your car apart.
Exactly. It rips your car out of the ditch. It jumps a meter, lands on the road, and it's fine. It's okay.
Lol.
You can go now.
I'm kind of surprised that a Toyota Hilux can support a 50 or 80 millimeter cannon.
It's not pretty, but it's been done apparently.
Oh, that's an okay.
It's just
cannon.
more advertising for Toyota, really.
Toyota.
Well, they did rename the Toyota Hilux the Invincible after Top Gear dropped it off a building.
They renamed it the Invincible.
Yes. Top Gear dropped the Toyota Hilux off the top of a building that was being exploded, and then they started it and drove off. So the next version of the Toyota Hilux that came out was called the Invincible.
Nice.
Okay, that sounds like a good test for a car, I have to admit.
That was the last test they did on the car. They also submerged it completely underwater. They drove it over some of the worst roads they could find. They hit it with a wrecking ball. They put it inside a caravan and then blew up the caravan.
Was it the one they also shot with the tank?
I don't think so. I don't think they ever actually shot it.
Panboy,
Oh, sorry, that was a Trabant.
Panboy, then it's no wonder it can mount a 50mm gun. So, they did put a 75mm gun on a Vespa. Or in a Vespa.
Oh god, yeah, I saw that. The recoilless rifle fitted on a Vespa.
Yes.
Alright, I think it's
With no option to aim. It's just a tube pointing straight forward.
To be perfectly honest, the way I've played Battlefield, that would actually be the perfect anti-tank weapon. You'd just be like scooting around the corner, you do a power slide out onto the street, you fire your cannon, and then you scoot off it.
Hit and run, baby.
And then
I mean,
you win the
that's
prize.
actually perfect. It is. That's the best. Because I used to do that at Battlefield 2142 all the time. Except I didn't have a Vespa. I used the buggy, but a Vespa would have been better.
Right. And left. And center. Cartoon Network.
Yeah.
This is a channel. It exists and it airs nothing but cartoons. But it did something very horrible recently. You
Yeah,
wouldn't
very
believe. Yes. I mean, okay. This might shock you. I'm gonna go full clickbait here. This is gonna shock.
I'm gonna get preemptively shocked.
Okay. Okay. They decided to release a new cartoon.
Oh,
I know, right? Oh my god, so horrible. It's a new cartoon, but that's not just it. It's a cartoon that features a white boy. And the designer of this white boy is a black dude. Dum dum dum.
I don't understand. How can he identify?
I know, right? I'm so confused. So yeah, Ian Jones Quartley or whatever his name is, he's known for bringing you such things as the character designs or storyboards. I don't even fucking know what he does on Steven Universe, but he worked on Steven Universe, and he also is the guy behind this. It was a webcomic, RPG World. He made that. So yeah, that's what he did, and that also featured almost nothing but white guys and girls.
So
And
now
now-
he's playing the demographic.
And now he had the audacity to create this new show. This is entirely his creation, and he made it up, and it's named OKKO or KOK, something like that. It's got those letters in it.
Are you sure it's not just K. Dot K. Dot
No.
Okay,
K?
KO, let's be heroes. Found it.
Yeah.
So yeah, the people apparently the internet is going batshit crazy because, oh my god, he's a black dude and he's not, representing the black community by not making his main character black.
I think the name might be a code word for KKK.
Well,
Of course, well, you can't have a television show and put black people in it. That's racist.
It's not like the Boondocks was a thing that existed. No, siree.
No.
Never existed at all. And
That's
Oh god,
funny, though.
Boondocks
Okay.
was so freaking awesome.
I liked Boondocks. It was a fun show. Oh, at least I liked the first season. After that, it just kind of droned on, and I lost interest. But
It was fairly accurate though. Like, they relentlessly made fun of white people in such a way that I could never point at anything and being like, okay, that's just too much. It was always like,
it was
yeah.
lighthearted.
And,
As long as it's funny and has a smidgen of truth. But,
And it also
it's
poked
on
plenty
for
of
the
fun,
smidgen.
and
It was-
and also poked plenty of fun at black people. Let's not forget that, which is probably why it worked, because it also was like, yeah, white people be crazy, yo, but some introspection is probably not the worst idea ever. Like-
what is there any actually? Is there any shows on TV right now that prominently feature major black families? Because I remember when I was growing up, I was watching what's it called? Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Sister, Kenan and Kel, and Moesha, and those were all major shows in my childhood growing up. Shows featuring majorly black people, right?
Yes.
You forgot the most important one.
Oh,
That's So Raven.
Exactly.
that was after my time.
That's my
That
favorite.
was not
that-
after your time.
that's my favorite. It's my favorite anime.
It was already when I was a teenager back then, so I never cared about these sorts of sitcoms to begin with, but
Well, that's because Disney Channel was awful at the time.
it still is. I mean, don't get me wrong, Disney Channel is getting better. I mean,
But
they're
seriously,
actually. Oh, go ahead.
Are there any shows like that being made immediately at this current time? Because that was before all this racist nonsense started being spammed on the internet constantly, and you couldn't make a show about black people because you'd offend them.
I'm pretty sure there is, shows featuring black people.
I don't know.
I mean,
don't watch
sitcoms.
TV.
The thing is that I don't watch sitcoms, so I don't care.
I'm not watching any shows with black people because I don't want to be racist.
Because you don't want to culturally appropriate their culture, isn't it?
Exactly.
Well, yeah,
Because, I would learn something about their culture and then I might start doing it.
exactly.
Yeah,
you
but
may.
even if you don't watch these shows, you'd be aware of them, right?
Well, that's the thing. I don't even keep track of all the sitcoms that are out there because, like I said, I don't care.
You mean
Like-
shitcoms?
Yeah, so some people are like, "Yeah, the Big Bang Theory is really funny." I'm like, "Fuck off and die in a fire." That's probably one of the few times when I culturally appropriate Xaverius' catchphrase. I mean,
Look, the
You're-
Big
you're-
Bang Theo-
you're
the Big
okay
Bang
with this,
Theory
right?
Makes
Serious?
fun of my culture, and I hate it.
wait, that it doesn't even attempt to.
I had a culture once, but I ate it.
So
Was it delicious?
so you're saying
How-
that the Big Bang Theory is culturally appropriating your culture, Panboy?
Yes, Big Bang Theory is entirely built on the concept of culturally appropriating my culture. That's what the show is about. The
And
show is about taking geek culture and making fun of it.
And it's doing it in the most dumb way possible.
But here's the thing, Panboy. You're white. And gamers, geeks, they don't have culture. And if they do have culture, it's toxic masculinity. That's what CG, whatever it was, taught me.
Artrix. You are very out of the current happening culture and stuff that's in, because geeks are the bee's knees.
Wait, what?
It's nerds who are the misogynists.
So of course, because a lot of these people are geeks, so they realize, oh wait a minute, we're kind of shitting on our own people. So
No, it's more like, what's a computer? I don't understand computer. Let's go play football. Lol, geek, nerd.
yeah.
And
Or-
then 10 years later, there's a computer everywhere. Okay, I learned how to computer. I a geek now.
No.
Lol, nerd.
They didn't learn how to computer. They got themselves an iPad, and now they think they are
Yes,
super whiskey.
I was narrating this from the perspective of.
Okay. I opened a YouTube account on my tablet, so I'm officially a computer expert.
You are a geek.
Yes.
You know so much about this hobby of yours.
Exactly. So obviously they get to say what we can and cannot do on the internet, because that's how it goes, right?
Exactly, but it would mean they would associate with those thin or fat people with glasses and zits all over their faces and backs, and they'll be like, no, we don't like those people. It's
No.
like we still don't like those people, even though we are in their country now. Well, let's just call them nerds and laugh at them.
Well, I was looking at, because of the OKKO mention, I was looking at what the new programming is on Cartoon Network. There's a reboot of the Powerpuff Girls with the same animator as
Again?
Fairly Odd Parents, and the top artist is the guy that did SpongeBob and Adventure Time.
Wait a minute.
Yeah,
so
so-
there's a Powerpuff Girls reboot that's not new PPG.
There's a new reboot.
No,
It's-
he's talking about it.
Rebooted last year.
Wait, so that's the art director from Fairly Odd Parents that's involved?
Yes.
The one where they look like
No, the main director, not just the art director. The art director is the one from SpongeBob and Adventure Time.
Wait, I can't remember Butch Hartman being involved. Or is
Bob Boyle and Nick Jennings.
Oh, okay. Because from the last time I checked, Fairly Odd Parents was created by Butch Hartman. And
Not the creator, one of the directors.
Oh, okay. Well, given that show has been going on for ages, that's probably
The
one of the
animator.
6 people
Yeah.
involved.
If not more.
Supposedly,
That's kinda
they have a new content director for the next season, and it might not be as awful.
Samurai
I
Jack?
saw the first
Are you saying the whole thing was awful?
Oh, it was terrible. God, no.
Oh, that's upsetting. The original one was really good.
Yeah,
What
they
are you
took
talking
everything
about?
they took everything that the original made special and removed that because it was not suitable for modern audiences.
Are we
So
talking
it's
about
not
new
a tongue in-
PPG?
So it's the new. You're saying that the new Powerpuff Girls is not a tongue-in-cheek like 1950s sci-fi.
No,
Oh.
not at all.
Not?
It's
That's
No,
sad.
it's basically just pandering to, well,
Tumblr.
Tumblr. That's the most basic way to describe the new Powerpuff Girls.
I bet they don't even have a main villain that is a monkey wearing a turban.
That's
Oh,
one of
they
the
don't.
things that the villains act like, well, slightly annoying neighbors. Like, oh my god, Mojo Jojo didn't properly take out the trash, and now my driveway is
Wait,
blocked.
But they still have
Oh.
Mojo Jojo.
as a background character.
Yeah. they're-
Okay, so they tried to take it and make it more sensitive and less, offensive, but they still kept the monkey wearing a turban as a main villain.
Yes,
No,
He
he's
just-
not a villain.
but he's not a
That
villain.
is-
He's now the comic relief sidekick.
He just
All the
he just
vil-
lives there. He literally
Yes.
just lives there now.
Just-
that is
exists.
absolutely hilarious.
Just Tridge, just to give you an idea of how entrenched this show is with modern sensibilities. One of the first episodes, or even the first episode, basically shed on masculinity. Their quote unquote villain was a guy named Manboy or something like that. And
It
I
was
was like,
basically a lumberjack.
Sounds like a dude, bro.
well, yeah, that's basically what they were trying to get across. Yeah, this guy that's basically, shitting on Powerpuff Girls for being girly. He's the big villain. I'm not even sure what he was trying to do.
Wait, that's not what man boys do, though. Man boys are definitely a thing, definitely a problem, but they usually don't shit on femininity.
They usually get jobs in media.
Or don't get jobs and live at home with their parents. And
I'm pretty sure all of them get jobs in Polygon.
I should go and watch the episode again so I understand the plot and can explain it to you and how terrible it was, but I don't want to.
Me neither, because
okay, well, that sounds very disappointing. I just saw that they're rebooting a beloved classic, and it looked like they had competent people,
Yeah,
but you guys have just
you
informed
see,
me otherwise.
you see,
They had an episode about a unicorn horse foal who thought he was a unicorn but thought he was a horse, and they wanted to pretend he was a unicorn, and then it was all about being a trans unicorn for an episode. And then at the end of it, they were like, "Oh, actually, he was a unicorn all along."
That sounds awful.
too deep.
Oh,
six.
it was. It was.
So,
Oh.
Tumblr, the show.
Yeah. Also, I'm now going to give you the mental image. Okay, so listen up. This is the image I'm going to imprint in your mind. Imagine the Powerpuff Girls, but they're twerking, and
Twerking?
that they're twerking. Yes, they're
What?
twerking. Bubbles is doing the me gusta face because there was such a goy soy piste day meme from whatever
That's a meme from like 2012.
Yes.
This is a show from last year.
Or is it meme extravaganza? It's really awful. It's just meme after meme after meme.
Also, Buttercup is rapping, and then Bubbles is dressing as some sort of, well, borderline hooker. In
This
the
Alright, I'm
episode.
just gonna.
This image
Also,
is like an image of God. No mortal can look at it without their brain exploding.
So
also,
I have watched 2 episodes of the show. They were both stinking with agenda, and just actually, even if I didn't like the message, I could have gotten behind it if they presented it well, but they didn't.
Nope, it's so blatantly obvious.
That's
And also the production quality of the show is really low, because it's full of animation errors, and even worse, it's full of spelling errors. There's like a
God.
shit ton of typos in there where you think, how did this get through quality control? Was there any quality control? It's almost as if they produced it and they just put it straight to TV. Like,
Artrix have it on a tight schedule.
well, that's very apparent.
They're always on a tight schedule. If I remember someone posted online how an episode of King of the Hill is made, and this might seem not relevant, but it is. So, like many American cartoons, King of the Hill is shipped to South Korea to be animated.
Mhm.
The episodes are completely drawn up. They're storyboarded in their entirety. A lot of the work is done here, but then the actual animation is done in Korea. And the actual like document that was posted online was really interesting because it was like a step-by-step of how to make an episode of King of the Hill. And a good half of this thing was how to clearly label your storyboard so that the South Korean animators don't fuck it up. they were saying like be clear in mentioning that all of the fingers are animated, because like King of the Hill was very specific on that they always have all of their fingers animated, unlike a lot of cartoons that these artists might be drawing. Or they'd be like, be very clear, like what is visible in the background, what's visible in the foreground. And basically they had to be so specific, because if they omitted to mention that a detail was present, it would not be there. So likely the Powerpuff Girls team probably was just not very specific with their storyboarding, and when they outsourced it to people that don't know English, they're just gonna get, garbage.
The stories, the material that went to Korea was bad. I guarantee it.
Yeah, so that's that. I mean, it sounds. I mean, like I'm not excusing them. I'm just saying that like errors like this are easier than you might expect.
Well, I'm not even talking about the animation errors. I'm just talking about the major content of the show.
Did I also mention that Buttercup made up with a princess?
Of course she did. I'm not even surprised. Of course, one of the characters. This is obvious. This is like, of course there is. This isn't even up for debate. That's just inevitable.
Well, in better news,
I will say that the Ben 10 reboot, which they also made, is okay.
All right.
It's not good, but it's inoffensive.
Well, that's a running theme with Ben 10, I suppose.
It doesn't push any agendas.
No, it's just pushing units to
the only bad thing I can say about the Ben 10 reboot is that they played all too safe.
Well, yeah, Ben 10 is basically just merchandises the series, which is still, it puzzles me to this day why Symbiotic Titan was cancelled over merchandise. I mean, come on, Cartoon Network.
Freaking awesome show.
I know, right?
But okay, speaking of Symbiotic Titan, because Tartakovsky or
Tartakovsky, something like that.
Yeah, that guy.
That guy.
He is by far my favorite animator, and his new Samurai Jack season starts tomorrow.
Oh yeah. God, it's tomorrow! Yeah, sweet.
It's tomorrow, and I'm so excited because I haven't seen new content from him since Symbiotic Titan was canceled.
Okay, apparently Sekele's already seen it, so is that true?
Leaked?
Samurai Jack? No, I haven't yet.
Oh,
I have not seen the new Samurai Jack.
Oh, okay. For one moment I thought you said that you actually seen it. But then I was just gonna tell you to not spoil it. But
okay.
I was just wanting to make fun of him for spoiling stuff. But
that's a running theme, but he's got nothing to spoil. Yeah, pretty excited. I mean, it looked pretty cool in the trailers, and it looks like it's actually one of the first times where I get the impression that they're really going all out with just doing whatever the fuck they want without having to worry about censors.
They've already announced that it is going to be a single season and it's going to wrap up the story. It's going to be, because he's been trying to push to have a movie done, so he's had a script for a movie for years at this point. And so so basically what they're saying is that they took that because no one picked up the movie because no one was going to touch a traditionally animated movie. They turned it into a season that's going to air on Adult Swim.
I think that's actually more effort than a movie, because
you have 40 episodes or 12 episodes versus
probably something
movie.
You probably have like 12 episodes.
But it's exciting because they're dedicated to the story will be resolved by the end of this season.
Well, that's some much needed closure we wanted anyways.
Yeah.
The world has been waiting for a conclusion to this story. Because
if it's a movie script stretched out over 12 episodes, it could feel to drag a bit, unless they fill. This is when you get filler.
I certainly hope that.
That's not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, filler in the Samurai Jack universe has actually been really good. Like a lot of think of the things that are the non-plot-based episodes in other Samurai Jack seasons. Stuff like Samurai Jack and the Scotsman. And like Samurai Jack in the Haunted House. Like those are episodes that did not push forward the main plot at all. They didn't involve Aku. They didn't involve anything like that. But they were still, or like even their award-winning episodes, like the 4 seasons, didn't push the plot at all, and they are
Didn't
the
Samurai
best
Jack?
episode.
Didn't Samurai Jack have a lot of episodes like that?
Yeah, it was a serial. I mean, most of the Samurai Jack episodes did not push forward the thing. They were. It wasn't a straight. What's the term for? It wasn't a straight slice of life. But it also, like, you could watch a lot of episodes without having context and still watch it.
Probably very similar to Avatar: The Last Airbender. That series had a similar progression to it, where there was
Avatar: Last Airbender.
Yeah, you've got a few episodes that will push the whole storyline forward, and then you'll have like one episode to push the storyline forward, and then like 10 episodes of serial content, and then another episode that pushes the storyline forward. You know.
Well, there was also its weakness, because there were times where it did feel like, yeah, they're just droning on forever. Though every episode did add something to the Avatar universe, which I guess can be said about Samurai Jack. Go ahead.
I think they kind of changed how they make these. I think people have become spoiled by a different kind of storytelling that they do today. Like nowadays, pretty much every episode of every show is expected to be followed immediately by the next episode, having some relevance and extending the plot. Whereas back then in the 90s and beyond and before, you just had cartoons that just had monster of the weeks and just random bullshit, and you were just being entertained for entertainment's sake.
Yeah, it's more like the comic book setting than like the movie miniseries style thing. Like, not every episode needs to push the plot forward. Sometimes I just want to see my favorite hero battling my favorite villains, or even like completely new villain, new content. You know, let's throw them together and see what happens. I want to explore this. It's exciting, you know.
Well, that is a general trend in cartoons to begin with. Like, there seems to be this trend where each cartoon is trying to be more epic than the other. Like, we're all trying to tell the most epic tale, and then a show like Loud House comes along and it's like just slice of life. It's like, just, you know, lol random for lol random's sake.
Yeah,
and
or to quote Seinfeld, it's a show about nothing. Why would anyone watch this?
But people watch it because it amuses us. And apparently it's working, because I think it's already been reviewed for another season, and it's even beating fucking SpongeBob, which wasn't SpongeBob moved to Nicktoons, or was it? Oh, no, that wasn't. That was Fairly Odd Parents was moved to Nicktoons, which basically means it's over.
SpongeBob is coming up on like 15 years of age, isn't it, at this point?
It needs to die.
It's the Simpsons.
But it's so incredibly popular. It's hit the funny bone for so many different demographics and so many. I mean,
it can't go on forever, though. It just keeps
Simpsons
going.
is still airing new episodes.
I don't get people who still watch The Simpsons. Let it die. We get it. We get it. Homer Simpson is a terrible dad, and Bart Simpson is neurotic, and Bart Simpson is a, annoying little shit, and Lisa's a smart ass. We get it. We really do. End it already.
But it's a perfect American nuclear family.
Except it isn't. They've been Flanderized, which is ironic because that phrase does come from the Flintstones, Jetsons.
No.
Oh, by the way, apparently they're gonna make. I was gonna say they're gonna make a Jetsons movie, but then I realized, it's gonna be one of those wrestling movies, which is actually a nice topic to bring up. Apparently, maybe you can tell something about it, Tridge, because maybe this is some American thing and we just don't understand. But
because for some odd reason they started making crossover movies between old Hanna Barbera cartoons and modern pro wrestlers.
Yeah, there is a metric shit ton of movies about the Flintstones, and apparently the Jetsons now, and Scooby-Doo, and maybe some others that I forgot about. They all go on an
John
epic...
Cena. That's a movie.
Yes.
Scooby-Doo, John Cena.
So they go to the wrestling matches and whatnot, and they interact with the wrestling dudes, and I'm supposed to really care about it, but I'm like, no, I don't care. Why would I ever care about this?
I hadn't heard about this, but it makes sense because, there's been a lot of, there's been like freaking I don't know. There have been several movies made with all of these IPs before. It makes me think that Hanna Barbera is just cheap. One reason why Cartoon Network started out with Hanna Barbera reruns is because it was all they could afford. They bought the entire library of Hanna Barbera, and that's where they started.
Oh yeah, the Cartoon Network basically started out as just a dumping ground for Hanna Barbera stuff. Like Ted Turner bought the entire library, and they were like, "Well, we got all this IP now, so might as well start a new channel and just do nothing but air fucking."
Which is great because it was like my parents and me started out watching the same cartoons, which is awesome. You know, it was actually kind of a cool thing that like. I was like, oh yeah, I love this Bugs Bunny episode or whatever, and it's like
Bugs Bunny is not Hanna Barbera.
Oh, interestingly. Oh. Go ahead. I talked over you.
Sorry.
No, never be sorry.
I just pointed out that Bugs Bunny is not Hanna Barbera.
That is true.
Is actually good.
But anyway, I don't think that's the point he was making.
Hanna Barbera and WB then. All of those cartoons were bought up by the what is it? It's all like the CNN, the Turner Broadcasting. Yes, owned all those things. Anyway, I think that there was also a Flintstones movie came out at the same time. Then Cartoon Network started making Scooby-Doo movies. I think they're just cheap. Now the pro wrestling thing's interesting because the only place I've seen a resurgence in pro wrestling references is actually on like Reddit. I'm noticing like people are trying to force this meme involving wrestling stuff, and I have no idea where it comes from. And now it might make sense. It might actually just be a corporate push to make wrestling relevant again.
Wrestling's always been bizarrely popular with a small subset of people.
And that's always true, but you don't see it on Reddit.
Even one of my IRL friends is fucking crazy about wrestling, and he knows all the names of all these people, and I'm like, I don't care. Why do you care so much?
Speaking of wrestling, there is actually also a cartoon. It does not air on any of the major networks, but I know it exists. It's basically called Camp WWE or WWF, not sure, and it features kid versions of the wrestlers in a summer camp.
Well, this is the 90s where we make kid versions of everything.
Only that this is now. This is a currently ongoing series.
Do they spell kid with a Z?
The 1990s cult, they want their kid version of their shows back. Like Yo Yogi. Yo man, dude, I'm Yogi and I'm cool. Like, I'm wearing sneakers. Am I cool yet? Do you kids like me yet? Yep. We're going to the mall.
I lost all respect for the WWF when they lost their name to pandas.
Yes, they got sued by the World Wildlife Foundation.
Top cat.
Which apparently had precedent.
But I'd never heard of the World Wildlife Foundation. I'd heard of the World Wrestling Foundation.
Well, apparently, notoriety is not an important factor when dealing with who owns copyright.
But no, trademark, and it actually is, because that is the definition of a trademark.
Not notoriety, but precedent. Who trademarked it first? Our patent system is so broken that two people can patent something without the patent office saying, "Oh, hey, you can't do that."
So wait a minute. You're saying that so entity A trademarks a certain phrase, and then someone else comes along, and they're like, "I'm also going to trademark this phrase," and somehow you can do that. They're not gonna check and see.
Yes.
Wait a minute. Wait a
do
minute.
that.
This is
can
this is
do that.
already trademarked. You can't have this. Not in
But
my
there's a-
America.
Nothing. You can do that, and nothing bad happens until the person who trademarked it before you takes you to court.
Yeah, but the thing is though,
Fuck.
if you don't protect the trademark and the other term becomes more known to your term, like the WWF became known as wrestling, everyone knew that the WWF was wrestling. At that point, you're supposed to lose control of that trademark because nobody recognizes it as you.
Which is also the reason why Hasbro went batshit crazy on Jan animations because, well, people supposedly couldn't tell the difference between what he was making and the actual show.
That's because people are stupid.
Well,
So,
then
yeah.
again, you have an entity like Fox News that banned
Fox.
Fox, and they were like, the Simpsons, listen up, you can't have that episode because people might mix it up with the actual Fox News. So this little bit you
Episode.
got in your episode, it's got to go. Gotta move it. Else
It's
mother-
got to go, yo.
Yo. And then Yogi comes around and he starts rapping for no reason.
No.
Okay,
And then
vote on your
future,
take your phones out now and vote who's cooler, the rapping dog from The Simpsons or Yo-Yo Yogi. This is very important. What we
Rapping dog from The Simpsons.
yes.
Just getting a
The
dial tone.
Simpsons.
well, I guess the dog from The Simpsons wins. Sorry, Yo-Yo Yogi, you're just not cool enough. Off to the concentration camp you go.
Off to the glue factory.
Yeah.
How many times in The Simpsons did Homer become famous only for someone to get offended by him and destroy his career?
6 billion times.
Each and every episode.
No, it happened a bunch of times though. Seriously, he was in a boy band, and he was
I think it's easier by listing what he didn't do, because he's pretty much done every profession and thing you could do as a human being.
Oh, God, I
I'm pretty
just
sure
remember
he's
as well.
been president of the United States at one point.
Also, his birth date moved like 20 years.
Of course.
I remember there was an episode in the new millennium when they when they had a flashback sequence to when he was in the Beats, but it wasn't a 60s Beatles style band anymore. It was like an 80s metal band.
My God.
The Simpsons has gone such a long way in just becoming awful.
They seriously they had to revise the kind of band he was in to make it make sense in current context.
This is why the show doesn't work anymore. Because they need to keep moving the goalposts.
Imagine Panboy in like year 2030. Homer will be born in the 90s.
Mhm.
Which
Oh my
actually
gosh.
makes sense because that's wait no. The
Well,
Simpsons
it'll make
are-
sense in 2030.
The Simpsons is based in the year it is at the moment. I mean, an episode of The Simpsons that happens comes out on present day.
That's
It's
very
time-
apparent, but it's not always been the case. I believe for some time they actually did stick to their timeline, but at one point they just said fuck it. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I mean they did make an episode where they pointed out how
They've
the
got
Simpsons
laptops and
don't
shit
know
now.
what.
I mean,
Okay.
Bananas.
I tried to look it up, and apparently Homer's age is around 36 or 38. So in the year 2040, he'll be a millionaire.
that's actually kind of terrifying.
Obviously, implying a world-scale nuclear conflict won't wipe us all, so we don't have to suffer
Oh my God! In
30 more years of Simpsons.
10 years' time, Homer Simpson is going to have been a member of One Direction.
No.
Those things all sound very terrifying. And it's all for it.
I vote for the nuclear holocaust.
Well, yeah,
Yes.
at least that will take me out of my
They've
suffering.
already done that before, though. By the way,
Of course they have. I'm pretty sure there's been an episode in which Homer has been let's see.
There's an
Plumber.
episode where they have a nuclear holocaust and they have to go survive on Twinkies, isn't there?
There
I'm
was
pretty sure
also
that's where like the whole
and
thing about like neat Twinkies surviving a nuclear holocaust
yeah.
comes from.
So
I
there's
don't know. I remember there was the episode about the nuclear holocaust, and then Homer survived it because he used lead paint in his house.
Yeah, I thought that they like infiltrated a Twinkie factory and like
Okay,
ate boxes of Twinkies.
That's a different episode, I think.
you see you see there's that episode and there's the classic episode where the town thinks there's gonna be a nuclear war, or the nuclear power plant is going to explode, or whatever it was, or there was a
There's
meteor.
also an episode where Lisa Simpson is the president after Trump, and is the first woman president of the U.S. and has to clean up all of his shit.
It's getting closer.
They sure did predict that Trump would be president at one point.
And that there wouldn't have been a woman president beforehand, which, in an episode done in like the late 90s, was freaking bold moves, because everyone was like, oh yeah, obviously, you know, Clinton's gonna have like 3 chances to be president before then.
You have to wonder if that was a bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy. Did Trump watch that episode of Simpsons one day and say, "Do you know what? Fuck it, I'm gonna do that.
I should try this."
More like Putin was watching that episode one day and was like, yes, good.
And
Good.
good. Also, give me my vodka and my training
as if-
pants.
Assuming he
Are
doesn't
you
Adidas
have
pants.
Are you implying that he, being a Russian, doesn't have vodka at his side all the time?
He's
I mean,
got,
there's
got
probably,
vodka
like,
and
a
Adidas
permanent
sneakers.
source of vodka installed in the bear that he's riding at any one
Yes,
moment.
he has a glass table full of vodka.
Well, is Grizzly Bear, of course, comes with like a vodka bottle holder, like
Artrix.
what now?
Oh yeah.
Artrix.
Yes.
Putin does not have a grizzly bear. Grizzly
Oh, it's a
bear.
Siberian bear. Sorry,
Yeah, Siberian brown bear.
Putin is the bear.
but it still has like a cup holder for the vodka. In the beer there.
A cup of vodka, please.
Yes.
See, that's why you should take a holiday to Russia. If you just want to go out to the plains and shoot some bears with a big rifle.
Yes.
That sounds
Yeah,
like
I
my
don't-
that sounds like my
Montana.
kind of
Also,
vacation.
Artrix don't be silly. They don't drink vodka out of
I'm confused.
in Russia. Well, the richer people who can afford cups do drink vodka out of cups, but the poor people just drink vodka out of spent ammunition.
Hmm?
Tridgeon, is it legal to shoot bears in Montana?
Yes. Do you know another place that it's legal to hunt bears?
No.
New Jersey.
What? I thought that was a city.
It's also a state.
Yeah,
Well,
New
that's
Jersey has
what they want you to think, Panboy.
Also,
New
I've
Jersey
been
has a
I've
horrific black bear problem.
been
And they have a season and a lottery to get the tags to hunt them.
Okay, I'm just now picturing people walking down suburbia with, their Trio 8s, shooting brown bears, eating out of garbage.
Oh, there's no brown bears in New Jersey. They're black
Oh,
bears.
black
but,
bears.
But you forget that West New Jersey is full of a rural pine barren. Dominated by packs of wild dogs and relative wilderness.
Oh, actual wild dogs.
Yep.
So wild dogs have actually broken out of their confinement under domestication and become a species of their own, living independently of humanity.
But this is a thing that exists. There are species of dogs that can self-subsist if you release them into the wild.
Most
Sight
dogs-
hounds, usually. So, like greyhounds, other types of sight hounds are actually capable of sustaining themselves in the wild.
In short, dogs that are not longer.
Not Shih Tzus.
Not longer. Not wider than they are tall, because you have these things that basically a what is it called? A cylinder.
Yes,
And
exactly.
It has 4 bumps. on the bottom.
Pugs cannot become wild dogs.
Yes, I would like to see a pug attempt to survive in the
A
wild.
wild pack of hogs descends upon you. Roll for
I
initiative.
did hear that there are feral chihuahuas.
What?
I
No.
believe that. Chihuahuas are actually mousers and good at hunting small game.
Yes, and
That's
I
what-
was just
they also spend 99% of their time being angry.
Yeah, they could probably live
Yes.
in the same kind of environments as Fenix. You know, hunting really small animals.
yeah. I was actually just in the state of Chihuahua, and there were lots of Chihuahuas actually roaming.
Wait, the state of
Unsurprisingly.
Chihuahua? Oh, the Mexican state, right?
Yeah, I just a couple of weeks ago I went caving in Mexico.
He was in Mexico.
Wait, and
Okay,
they let
maybe-
you back over the border? Was
Yes,
no
they
wall just keep you out? You
We
filthy
did have-
Mexican.
We did have issues with the border agents discovered our cache of gas potatoes, which were illicit contraband,
Lol.
and they had us pull over and dismantle everything in the car, and then like threaten our driver with fines over the potatoes, which none of us really took seriously, but we did our best to pretend to take seriously until they let us go on our way.
You should take the
But, yeah.
potatoes seriously.
They took the potatoes seriously, which was hilarious, by the way.
Were they immigrant potatoes?
They were apparently fresh produce that had been in Mexico and therefore could cause a serious threat to, U.S. agriculture. Meanwhile, while this was going on, probably 5 semi-trucks full of fresh produce from Mexico were probably headed into the U.S. because that's where all of our fresh fruit comes from.
Tridgeon, they've been in Mexico. They are full of drugs.
No exceptions.
Technically,
Like
The drug dog didn't stop us.
you peel the potato, and under the peel there's no potato. There's just cocaine.
That would have
look.
been a good idea, except for the drug dog that then went through all of our stuff and didn't find
Could-
anything.
being a person who lives in a country that suffered quite nasty potato-related issues, I can assure you that potato safety is very important.
But it's not going to be us and our 5 extra potatoes that we're going to eat in the next
It
week.
only-
It's going to be the
it
semi-truck
only-
full of potatoes. That's
Could be.
It
At
only
that very
takes
moment.
one blighted potato to ruin an entire nation.
I'm saying if there
Of
were blighted
potatoes.
potatoes in Mexico, the U.S. potato population would be screwed, and there's nothing that stopping individuals on the border is going to do to stop that.
And anyway, let's close this episode on some Mexican
On some potatoes.
anecdotes. So, anything interesting happened in Mexico? What's your
no.
impression of Mexico when you were there?
They have beautiful caves. Once you get away from the border, the people are extremely friendly and have awesome food and are very friendly. We basically camped out on a mining company's property without permission or asking them about it. And when the workers showed up the next day, they were like, "Oh, hey, cool! There's people here now. Let's go to work." And I was
Yes.
like, "Man, if this was the U.S., the police would be called and we would all be arrested."
Well,
But
that's
they just-
Oh, go ahead.
They just don't give a shit. As long as you're cool and you acknowledge, give them something if you should be giving them something, or being leaving their stuff alone and being cool, and everyone's just cool. It's a really relaxed society with really carefree and easygoing people, just trying to make their way in the world.
Hmm.
They also have really beautiful caves.
Wait, really? What would you?
Yes,
really
you already stressed the beautifulness of their caves.
Yes, it was
Would-
amazing.
Would
bet
you
they're full
really
of
be?
drugs.
Would Americans really call the police on you that quickly?
If random foreign nationals showed up and started camping out on an active mines operating site, yes. You better believe the police would be called, because that would be a liability nightmare in the U.S.
Makes
Of
sense.
course, yes. Insurance. Insurance has ruined this world. You know that? Insurance is literally the worst thing that's ever happened to modern society.
Oh, banks in general.
Well, yeah, it does reduce society to become extremely risk averse to the point where you just can't have fun anymore.
But that's the thing. Insurance is supposed to do the opposite.
It should, yeah. But
It's supposed to protect companies from retarded shit happening. But instead, it only seems to serve to punish them. It's like, oh, if an accident happens at your mine, the insurance payout is going to be so massive, you'll be put out of business. It's like, wait, hang on. What am I paying for insurance then?
Well, that's the thing. The insurance companies are so afraid of having to pay even a single cent that they do everything in power to make this world as well boring and risk averse as possible. Like, oh, you could possibly, maybe, if you're unlucky, get into this situation. So you're basically not allowed to have fun anymore.
So here's what you do: instead of having insurance, you don't have insurance. Okay?
Which is illegal.
Wait. Okay. Then a person comes on your property, okay, or one of your staff. Staff are probably the most likely to be injured. And instead of paying absurd premiums and being fucked, rather, you just pay the medical bills.
And then you get sued for not having insurance because it's illegal to not have insurance.
But you're covering the medical bills. You're doing what the insurance company would do.
Welcome to America, where there's like the insane amount of bureaucracy everywhere,
Although I do understand
This
America's
is
medical
also-
bills are slightly different than our medical bills.
I mean,
As in, yours are a 40k mortgage, ours are €150.
that's
Yes, welcome.
own risk, as they call it. Like, well, okay, you're covered, but you have your own risk. That's like I think it's 350 quid over here. So the first 350 quid, well, you gotta pay yourself. But after that, yeah, we will cover this.
Yes. Welcome to America, where everything is made up and the points don't matter.
Anyway, I think that's a nice note to end.
It's also that Trump experiment they did.
Oh yeah, there's the Trump care thing, right? Which is basically just
Trump
okay.
care.
It's Obamacare.
No,
No,
Sekele's talking about something entirely different.
Okay.
Basically, some universities did an experiment where
Oh,
they
yeah,
were
yeah.
trying to prove that Hillary Clinton lost the elections because of sexism. So they prepared two candidates, a female candidate who acted and talked like Donald Trump the whole time, and a male candidate who acted and talked like Hillary Clinton all the time. The female Donald Trump still ended up winning, and with a much larger support than the real life Donald Trump.
Nice.
So in other
So they
words,
were sexist after all.
so in other words, all it end up proving is, it's not about the person making the argument;
Not
it's
about
the
gender,
actual
it's
argument.
about the person.
Yes.
And many people, even when they were filling in answer sheets about this, even pointed out that the male Hillary Clinton was the male Hillary Clinton equivalent was sleazy, punchable, annoying. While about the female Trump, they generally said, "I don't like them, but they make sense."
It proved that sexism was a big part of the election, really. It proved that Donald Trump would have won by an even bigger margin.
I don't know.
If he was a woman, apparently.
The downside of studies like this is that they produce a single data point. And one thing, a major thing that I learned from my statistics class is that you need at least, in general, you need at least 40 data points before you have any meaningful data as far as science is concerned.
Yeah, you're right. This didn't prove anything. This was actually just a single study.
Yeah, so it's interesting, yes, and it can bring dialogue, but they've done something once with probably a small group of people in relatively isolated setting. I wouldn't draw any larger conclusions from it other than, it's an interesting anecdote.
It was funny, but the actual findings of the study aren't the best part. The best
that's
part,
why it's still interesting.
The best part is they were so shamed by these findings. As soon as it went on the internet, they unlisted it.
Nice.
Yeah, they unlisted the video, and now you can only see it when it's listed.
Which
You
also
can
shows
only
that the study was done with a good bit of bias involved as well, which is great.
They went in bias, and they were still proven wrong. That's the
That's
best
awesome.
part.
Hmm.
That is definitely the best part.
Because I'm pretty sure their aim was to show the world, look at how mean Donald Trump is, and it's just because of a dude, and it's patriarchy, and patriarchy, checkmate atheists, and then they do the study. It's like, no, these people are actually. It's more about the arguments and whatnot.
But it is funny.
But
People
yeah.
did just in general prefer the Trump stance even more when it came from a woman.
Yeah, she was probably cute, unlike the freaking 75-year-old, plus people that. Wait, isn't Trump in his 70s?
He's in, I'm pretty sure
He's-
so.
He's above 70
In
years
general,
old.
the people that are qualified for and have the connections needed to run for president in the U.S. are old fucking people that are ugly and terrible to look at. So,
And honestly, if you compare photos of Obama at the start of his campaign to him at the end of the campaign, Trump is going to be a skeleton.
No, he will come out even stronger
That's-
and wider than ever before. See, that was the thing
just hope
about
this
Bernie.
vice president dies first.
That was the thing about Bernie. Like looking at the Obama photos, Bernie would just disintegrate. There will be nothing left.
He's already an old fuck, and he's gonna be super old fuck.
Exactly.
After. Yeah, that was the interesting thing about the rally I went to, because the guy is, he's exactly the same age as me, give or take a few months, but a few days actually. So yeah, even if he gets elected, somehow he'd still be, not that. He would be nowhere as old as the older people that we brought up in the past 10 minutes. But he's
So
not
you're
going
saying he probably won't die in office
No.
unless he's assassinated.
Well, Artrix, I don't think Trump will die in the office. I mean, he's a very vigorous man.
Oh, we'll find out eventually.
Holy fuck, he had a child when he was 60.
Hmm.
That's pretty old for making babies.
Yeah, exactly.
My parents had their last child in their 50s, and that was pretty old for making babies.
Yeah, my parents had me in, well, mom was 38, dad was 40.
But did they
Anyway,
win the
weren't
prize?
we bringing ourselves to some sort of culminating, pivot in this?
Yeah, Artrix is doing the end screen right now. Looking
Yep.
up, he's editing into 40.
See,
Wait, what number are we?
Tridgeon,
55.
we are measuring how much of a Trump we are.
I'm 7 Trump.
I'm probably closer to 4 Trump.
I'm 1.21 giga Trumps.
That's a lot of Trump.
confused by this.
Well, Trump is a skill now. So one Trump is just one Trump. So you're just like Trump. So if you're actually no, then it would not be 2.6 Trump. Then it would probably be like 6
Are you
centi
kidding
Trump.
me? Everyone in Artrix chat is at least an extrovert. I mean, an introvert, and not the sort of person that would run a $1 billion plus industry of hotels and promote their families and then go into a life of politics as an adult. All of us are like negative 10 Trumps at least.
Or like 6 micro Trumps.
Tridgeon, you have to remember that Artrix has been taking on some new people, and they severely endangered the integrity of Artrix chat as people who have absolutely no feelings and don't give a fuck. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a person who publicly gives. I lost the sentence. There's a person who publicly displays emotions, even.
I mean,
Yes.
Curly earlier said apparently she missed you, Mr. Tridgeon.
She did say that. She also said it about everyone that showed up in chat today.
Exactly.
Except for you.
God.
ITT, Panboy,
Oh.
and Xaverius are
Did-
very confused about this thing called being kind and whatnot.
What is that's fucking Fluttershy bullshit. I don't want that.
My point exactly. So yeah, that was the end of episode 55, Radio Rothingham. I hope you like it. And that was my impromptu, weird-ass, quasi-American accent, I guess. Like, subscribe, do all that good jazz. And see you guys next week for yet another episode of Retardation, as known as the least
Yo,
professional
guys,
podcast on the internet. You're
The most professional podcast.
the most least professional. The most
In the internet.
in the internet. Not on the internet, but inside.
It's a series of tubes.
The
Exactly.
files are in the internet.
It's not a dump truck.
And I'm pretty sure it's going to be a good episode because it will be post
Shut up
Dutch
already!
elections. So yeah, get it, bye!